you guys doing? Hi, Joseph and Blake and Remy and Vladimir. How's it going, guys? Let me ask you: is the sound okay? Can you hear okay? And everything, the video is all right. Let me know if it is okay. Yes, no, maybe. You're thinking about it. All right. Can you hear me? Nobody wants to answer that. Okie doke. Hi, Louie. Good. Thank you very much. Um, I know what bon fin means. All right. Here's what I wanted to talk about this afternoon was is basically this. Um, we're in very much sort of knee deep, as a matter of fact, into very much of a seller's market. And the reason we're in a seller's market, there are a lot of things. First of all, during the bulk of the pandemic, now people weren't going to work, and so they weren't getting stuff done and everything else that you have to have a watch done. And so the supply went down, and supply and demands sometimes works, and this time it did, uh, not to the collector's advantage. And so we find ourselves in a situation that we we're sort of like, unless we want to get cheaper watches or other kinds of things or pay more actually for watches that used to be really cheap, we're sort of, we got to do something. And so what I wanted to talk about today are some of the things that are going on. Hi, Junior. Let me start off with some things that I happened to notice simply because there were some watches that I had liked for before all of this started, and I got a couple of them. One was by Roger Dubuis. I got a couple of those, and the other one was by Daniel Roth. Now, during the early 2000s, both of these really very, very talented watchmakers had their own brand, and they were making watches and some really very interesting ones. And so what happened was that shortly after I had them, I noticed that the prices started creeping up. And a watch that I got for around four, I think, I just saw the exact same watch up offered at 11,000 today. And so it's not like, if you don't think of it in terms of, oh boy, you made a good investment, it wasn't that at all. The thing that I was looking at was, what are some good watches that may not be particularly popular. Now, the so what we have seen with the prices in these watches that used to be extremely good, we've seen them go up too. And so one of the reactions, and I think it's a positive thing, people have said, well, I guess I don't need this most popular brand, name it what you want. It could be Rolex, Omega, Patek Philippe, any brand that and FP Journe. Um, yeah, tell me about it. Anyway, so these things are one of the things that's happened. So it's like anything else when you have a certain way of doing things that you know how to deal with. Hey, Lee, that you do something else. I mean, if your girlfriend runs off with the pool guy, or something like that, you have to figure out, well, I'm going to find a new girlfriend or get a job as the pool guy. I don't know. The and so what I'm looking for, and this is where I really need your help, is what are some other things you can do without giving up um, good, high quality watches at a price we can afford. All right, so I don't want to talk about. And Louis says it's a good time to learn more about more and more about horology. It's mostly free. Oh, okay. Thank you, Louis. That's right. Absolutely right. That's one thing. We have some time to learn about that. And believe me, really believe me, it pays off hugely. Um, Buying the same watch and expecting un unchanged things to happen. It can for a while, but then when there's a shakeup in the system, things aren't the same at all. And I know people. There've been a lot of people talk about investment watches and different things like that, and that's a whole different things. I know this one guy. Well, at least one guy. I used to know more than that, but and that is they bought Rolexes like Bitcoins. It was an investment. They could care less about the watch. They knew the one that was the hardest to get. They knew where to get them, and even if they had to pay a little more, they knew the price was going to go up. And boy, I tell you, it really did. So that's an investment watch. Now, that's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's sort of a whole other thing. What I was thinking of is that looking for other routes and in taking these different routes to get a good watch. I mean, if you look at the goal is to really get a special and a really great watch, you have to do it in a way that is totally out of line with everything else that you're dealing with. Uh, hey, Blake and Foreman, a taco truck. Lee, what do you get? Lee, I'm glad to hear you got a new job. Hi, Hater. Let's see. Boomer Rancher. Armando's Northwest 58th in May. Okay. That's how we have over here in Fracking Gulch. All right. Hey, Kendall, how you doing? Oh, from Trinidad. How are things in Trinidad? Uh, no, Rancher. The answer is no to that. Next time, no, we're gonna get Lee Todd. You wait. He'll be glad it did. Now this is something that hi Dominic. This is something that we've been doing for God about I don't know. We started sometime back in June, I think, and on a project watch. Now the thing about it is, at this point, we don't have a watch yet, and we're hoping to have one pretty soon. But the thing of it was that we learned so incredibly much. We thought we really knew about these kinds of things. So now, what's happened it was this Mojon comes along and he says, "Hey, he's got this watch. It's an automatic watch with time only. I think time only and date, time and date. So a three-hand watch. I think it was subdial plus the date. Okay, I think it's it, and it's called the Crenode. Crenode is a company that Francois something Mojon had started. Now, this guy is one of the top watchmakers in the world. I mean, he's up there. And again, this is from a Quill and Pad article that back in 2012 they had an article about these 12 people, and then you look at them today, and they're still doing great things. And I try to think they had Carol Kasapi. I forgot she has another name who did the stuff, all of the movements and stuff for Cartier, and now she's the head watchmaker over at Tag Heuer. Okay, and then some other ones. Jean-Marc Viderec was another. Of course, he's the head of Agenor, and a couple other guys. And so you have these really great watchers. So suddenly we have this guy says, look, he says for you get 10 guys together or 10, our girls, whatever you want, 10 people together. You get 10 people together, and you can get one of the movements that he's made for $1,200. Now, here's the interesting thing about that. Um, in order to have a watch, I put out a little video not long ago about well, put one together for 2,000 bucks, 1,200 for the movement, and then figure out 800, let's say, for the case and the dial and the hands. I don't even include straps and buckles in that because uh, I think a lot of people have all kinds of ideas about doing that individually anyway. So what's happened again, and this is out of partly necessity and partly not being able to get everything we wanted to get. Um, but the amount of information we got. Now, there was this one guy, and he's a real nice guy and everything. I talked to him, and he said that he could get the this and this and this, everything we needed for the Mojon movement, for the chrono. I think it's Chronode 102, I think was the number on it, and it was going to be like the whole package would be like 3 or $4,000. So, this is something I thought, well, I think we can do it for 2. Why did I think I could do it for 2? Because of this other project. We learned all kinds of stuff, and I think that if we, you know, take an opportunity to do that, then what we have in this seller's market, we have these great opportunities not only to learn more, but to end up with a better watch that we could have possibly had before the pandemic and when prices were lower. So now we can start looking at watches by top watchmakers for a price that we can afford. In fact, we can find some pretty good deals on it. So that was how that came about, and so I've been thinking about that ever since, and the guy I was told flat out by this one guy, he's a very experienced guy, by the way, and a nice guy too. He said, "Bill, there's no way you could do that for $2,000." And, he may be right, but, he may not be either, because I don't think he's ever gone down that path. A lot of these guys haven't. They're still dealing in this sort of model retail world, not in the collector's world. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, when they had the video on the Zoom video by the Horological Society of New York on Nomos, the listening to the marketing person, and she was going on about the marketing costs, the sales, the advertising, plus the markup that you have to give for the guy in the store. All of these different kinds of costs that have nothing to do with having a top-notch watchmaker and get the parts and put it all together for you. All of that was like almost like, oh yeah, we have to do that. But the real part is that we have to have these marketing. Look, God knows what they're spending. Who was it? Forgot. It was a watch company I like, who had these I don't know, they call them crews or something like that. I don't, trying to think what company it was. Anyway, it was like some people who are extremely high paid actors and celebrities. These guys don't do it for free. And so I'm thinking when you buy one of those watches, you're paying, for the celebrities, you're paying for other marketing gigas they have. You have to hire people in marketing. Now, I this is of course for companies that they want to make a profit and they got to get it, they got a payroll to meet and other kinds of things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about solely from the collector's point of view, is that we can think up these new things all we want to. We don't have to say, oh, all right, I'll go down to it's sort of like pre-internet. I'll just have to go down to the AD and see what he's gonna do for me. Okay. um Okay, Foreman. Uh, yeah. Hey, Donald, how you doing? Foreman, yeah, the old advert celebrated its metallurgy. Corrode does not corrode. There you go. A good thing like that. You know, figuring these out. When I had my publishing company, I had to do a lot of this stuff myself, and I got a book by this guy. I swear to God, he's the corniest guy I've ever read. Is on advertising, and I read his stuff, and it was really good. I mean, and no offense to anybody in marketing, there are a lot of things you have to learn, but it's not rocket science at all. It's just looking at now. We as collectors, we don't have to sell to anybody because we're selling it to ourselves. Lee, you're gonna let us Lee's gonna watch. That's what most people do, Lee. Hey, Mark. Mark, remember, Mark J, not any Mark, but Mark, remember it's, FPJ FP Journe wait, Philippe what is it? FP Francois Journe Friday, okay? So get your watch up there. Um, hey, Crappy, what's up? All right. Mahjong movement is a favorite of Jewish ladies in Florida. All right. Watching a film, evening chaps. Hey, Homer. Uh, who cares what someone else is wearing, famous or not? Yeah, I mean, like, if the focus, I mean, if you're focusing on having a watch as Bitcoin, I think the first day I started collecting watches, I learned that the best resale value was on Patek Philippe's and Rolex, and that's generally true. Um, on the other hand, that doesn't tell me anything about the real quality of the watch or the innovations or this or that. And now that Patek Philippe has, decided to stuff their watches with silicone hairsprings, I could care less. I'm not even interested in the brand anymore. Not that everybody else isn't, just me. And so there are other kinds of things I'm looking at. Um, Hey, Forbin, you're really good at this. Every man a sovereign AD to himself. That's a great idea. I like that. Even more than an AD, a manufacturer as well. Hi, Oliver. Are we really in a seller's market? If so, how do you define it? Uh, Oliver, it's like this: low supply, high prices. That pretty much makes a seller's market. If you have low demand and high supply, that becomes a buyer's market. Hey, Remy, if I get it well, you want to make your own watch. Yeah. No, I don't want to make it. I want to have the best people in watchmaking make it. And there's a big difference. I mean, I've made watches if you call buying a case, a dial, hands, and movement, making a watch. Yeah, I've made watches myself. It's not that big of a deal. You gotta know some stuff, but that's not a bad thing because then you know what you're dealing with on the other end. What I'm saying, when I first got into publishing, I thought I knew a lot about publishing because I'd published a lot of books with regular publishers, and in a series of weird things. I just had this little publishing company. Weird things happened to me. I had this great sales rep, and then he died. I mean, just he had been he really knew everything and everybody. Those things happen. But I also learned about a lot of other things in terms of production and distribution and even direct sales. But the point is that you can say, "Oh, well, things change and now they have they're handing us this X type of watch. It costs more. Is there any kind of what we'll call a traditional mechanical innovation in it?" And the answer is usually, "Well, not really." Rolex, I'll tell you, they got an oyster case, well, which means it's waterproof. That's a good thing. Um, but it's like people just say, "Well, that's not how you do it. That's not how it's done." Well, why not? There you go, Mark. Hot rod watches. Dominic, that would be great. Have a hot dog. I gotta have flames coming out the on the band. Hello, watch what? Finanglers? Hi, Neff. Hey, Owen. A singer of sorts. All right, yeah. Louis, okay, let's not forget that this is a luxury market. Everything are mostly for the eyes only. Ooh, Louis. Maybe, maybe not. Uh, if you know certain things, I used to when I was a kid, I had these, these little model airplane engines and stuff like that a long time ago. Um, and there were certain brands that you would buy, not because of what they look, but because of their quality. There's you the luxury brand, you can buy, a relatively inexpensive watch with a relatively cheap movement, even a quartz movement in it that looks really good. Cartier has had those for years. What was it? Must de Cartier was sort of the low point, but that was what they did. So, and somebody sees a Cartier and they go, "Ooh, that's a Cartier." Uh, Collectors are now just learning enough about Cartiers to find out about they had a for a period of time had a top watchmaker in it, and they also have one that THA did the movement for. THA was found by V&E Halter and FP Jorn and those guys back when they were just getting started. So suddenly you get this watch with these guys in it. And I think the same thing now becomes available with companies like Crenode or even Arvel Vaucher Fleurier. These are things that that you're not dealing with your I was going to say not your average bear, but something other than waiting for somebody else to do it for you. Let me see what they give me. Oliver, yeah, well, Moser used to be a really good deal. They're they're they've come up a lot. The same thing with Parmigiani. Some of the best ones are gone. And we've been seeing that happen. Now, the reason that's happened has a lot of interesting possibilities. One is that I think that that people who have Parmigianis are really surprised how good they are because they're not popular. They don't like it's usually in design. Lee, how come watch companies aren't all different kinds of stainless steel like the custom knife guys are? We had a guy who's a member of the High Horology Lounge who just joined, who has these custom knives, and custom knives are like you know sort of doing custom jobs on an ETA. A lot of the German watchmakers have all of this engraving, this englaze, and so on and so forth, uh, and the movement underneath all of this uh, work uh, is an ETA 6498-1. So, I mean, how important is on gloss? Well, it makes a watch a lot nicer. But the best part, but the most interesting thing about good on gloss is on the back where you can't see it. But if you know watches, you can see a watch and say, "Whoa, I know that is really some watch." Well, Oliver, uh, yes, Louis. They're not for your average watch buyer. They're not for your average watch buyer. Now, if you wanna be an average watch buyer, you know, let's go over there. They're over at the children's table right now. Okay, I saw one of the new watches had, medical grade. Big deal, it was done years ago. Yeah, medical grade steel, that's another term. Um, they have also steel has these certain numbers, and Rolex likes to brag about its, I forgot what it was, and then I read about it, and apparently there's some problems with that grade, whereas a lower grade, I think it was a 316 or something like that, was actually better because it didn't get crummy after a while or something like that. It was really funny. I would really like to have a Vienney Halter, but I won't sell my house to buy one. My wife wouldn't approve. Don't tell her. Okay. Hey, John, what's up? Lee, it's not that stuff, but a specific number of SS with specific qualities. Yeah. Um, hey, Oliver, what now? By the way, most German watches like let's see, Glasuti Original, Longa, and Nomos are clearly worth their money in the very main. Yeah, some watches are. I agree. I mean, you can go and you can take a look at more and more of manufacturers, watch manufacturers now have their own online shops. And they have it for the same prices that they have for that they have at the retail stores. This is so they don't get in trouble with the retailers that are selling them. So you can go to some place like Squash Dog, Mississippi, or someplace and find an AD there, and he's got the same price on the same Omega that you can get online directly from Omega. So these kinds of things are, yeah, yeah, those are okay. Culpa Hebdo in SS here, right? Tonda 1950 white gold. I love those. Can a gentleman appreciate a woman's on gloves without cheating on his wife? My French pronunciation is the best I can do because what I can hear isn't so hot. Yeah, Neff, I agree with you. That 1950, those Parmigiani Fleurier Tonda 1950s are really beautiful watches. For a while too, you can look for watches that take a dip. Um, I had one, I still have it, and I love it, is Beauvais 1930. And for a while, they just weren't very popular, especially the kind I got the Fleurier version with the what's it called? A bow and crown uh, lugs on them. But now, for some reason, their prices zip back up again. So so they're not as affordable as they were at one time. Yeah, that was right. I think I've been named in a couple of divorce suits. They have me as a respondent. I aspire to own a Lang one day. I hope you get one, Kendall. Did any of you guys see a Patek piece, small documentary on how they made the Grand Sonnier, a piece of art by itself? Yeah, they, they. I love Patek Philippe, but not after 29. I just don't like them. If I want to watch if I want a timing device that I don't have to worry about getting magnetized or goofing up on the time, I got my iPhone. I just, you know, there's a time. It's exactly 4:30, which is sort of frying pan time for me. Okay, guys, gotta run. Yeah. Okay, I'll get one more for what's Oliver up to. Really, the German luxury brands like Geo and Lang are really up against the Patek Philippe's and Audemars Piguet. They certainly can match. I don't know about the Geo so much. I think the German brands that are really undervalued, and of course, they're overpriced a little too, are Moritz Grossmann. And absolutely, the ones I think the best German watches right now are made by Lang& and Hein. Actually, Marco Lang, who has came out with his first one, but he'll have more. Okay, guys, take care, stay safe, and hasta la vista.